Hello everyone at home, and welcome everybody here at Deepnote headquarters at Prague, and welcome to an edition of a meetup on the topic of from IC to an engineering manager and back. I'd like to thank Deepnote for hosting us, and for those who are at home, you will not be able to enjoy it, but there is an epic view, so if you haven't done it before, after the meetup, definitely check out the view. And also, 3 lucky people who are here can touch under their seats, and there is some little gift for you. So let's see, under the cushion. So there is a little something for 3 lucky winners. Yeah, which unfortunately the people who are watching us. Oh, I see some winners. Yes, congrats. So my name is Jan. I am from Mews, and I'm not an engineering manager. But I have worked with them a lot. I'm working with them a lot, and now today I want to ask them a lot of questions. But with me there are 3 current or former engineering managers. There is Václav from Mews. And I'll tell you why they are here, because it's not like everybody made the cut. So Václav is here because he's the recent engineering manager. Then we have Honza from Deepnote, who is a veteran.
Who's old? Yeah, just say it the way it is.
Who's a veteran engineering manager. Hey, and we have Jakub, who is not an engineering manager. He was an engineering manager, and he'll tell you today why he's not anymore. Yes, and this is what we're going to talk about. And probably to start with, I would like to do a little bit of an icebreaker, but maybe we'll get into the bottom of some things. What did you want to be when you were younger? And if it's even remotely, if you can find some correlation to what you're doing now. Václav.
You mean when I was a child, or?
You can do both.
Okay.
If it changed.
Okay. When I was a child, I wanted to work at the cash desk, and the reason was because I thought that I can get all the money from the cash desk. So that was the reason. And maybe at the university, I wanted to be a scientist. Yeah, but then I realized that the environment is not for me. But the motivation was, to make world better. But yeah,
So if we're finding some correlations, I think it's closer to the cash desk, because now you're able to also give money as a manager, right?
Yeah. Could be, definitely.
Right, you Honza?
My motivation was similar. I did not have the very precise plan to work at the cash desk, but I did want to make a lot of money, but with no specific plan back then. But the first moment I got in touch with computers, I knew that I wanted to be able to control them, to let them work for me. And technology has always been pretty close to me, so I enjoyed everything ever since. So I followed this path.
So now you control the people and they work for you.
I wish.
And Jakub?
So touching on the computers, when I got introduced to computers, because obviously with computers, you have games, right? So once I got into gaming, I think I wanted to be game developer. But speaking about money, it's not the industry where you can get rich. So I'm not doing that. It's quite difficult, right? So I was doing free games.
So you're now in the period between 2 roles. So now you are a pro gamer.
I mean, currently at my sabbatical, I'm pro gamer. I'm trying to kick off my Twitch career, but it's probably not gonna go well. So I will have to eventually start working again.
So make sure you subscribe to his channel. And why was I asking it? Because I'm a community manager, but I wanted to be in diplomacy when I was a kid, and I kind of found it in the community management just without the bureaucracy. So that's why I was asking. Nice. But this talk is not about me. I'll try to ask as little questions as possible. My goal is to ask 1 or 2 questions, and the discussion will go on. But before we get to the real stuff, maybe tell us what is the biggest team that you have, or that you maybe are now managing, so that we have a perspective of who you're talking here.
Yeah, basically I'm leading the team of about 8 people. I'm not directly managing all of them, but yeah, we are a cross-functional team. We have about 2 front-end engineers, 2 back-end engineers, 1 data analyst, 1 QA engineer, and we are leading the team with the trio consisting of me as an engineering manager, and there is a product manager and a product designer.
We're definitely gonna get to that, this setup.
Yeah.
Honza.
My setup is much simpler. and I cannot count that many. So there are 5 of us right now, but they are all stars. So it's actually a joy to work with. I am currently engineering manager of the platform team. We are responsible both for the infrastructure. So when Deepnote is down, it's our fault. And we are also responsible for our developers to be happy. So developer experience is also a part of our responsibility.
So if it's down during our talk, are you going to get a message?
Of course, yeah. If I leave suddenly, you probably know that I'm going to ask somebody to fix it because I'm not able.
Okay, we're going to get to that definitely as well. Jakub.
Cool. So when I was doing engineering management at Productboard, as you might know from my bio of this event, I'm not working there anymore. I think at peak, I was managing 2 teams, about 7, but like those teams were quite small, so it was 7 people, if I'm not mistaken.
Altogether?
Altogether 2 teams. And it was quite interesting because,
Before I forget, you can definitely ask us anything on Slido, and if the question is relevant to what we're talking about, I'm going to use that at that time. We're not going to wait for the last one. So let's get to the important stuff. So I have a paper because I I copied what it is, engineering manager based on Glassdoor, and I want you to...
I'm interested in this.
Yes, I want you to listen and then tell me if it's true, what is missing, or what you would maybe emphasize a little more. An engineering manager is responsible for ensuring that key projects and engineering duties are fulfilled. They are responsible for solving any engineering issue that comes up in a project. A few of the main duties of an engineering manager are answering technical questions, proposing budgets for projects, training new employees, and working with various other departments. They also have to prepare reports on the progress of any project. Honza.
Hearing the list of responsibilities, I'm not sure if I want to do this anymore. But I lack one thing. Like all of this could be relevant. We will probably talk deeper about this, but I think that the engineering manager, that there is a wide variety of the kind of engineering manager you can be, and none of them is correct or incorrect. While it could be completely correct to be doing budgeting at one company, it could be completely correct to approve vacation in another one, and it could be completely correct to do none of that in another one. And the one thing that I miss in that list, and that's the part that I quite enjoy, is taking care of the people in the team. I cannot judge if I'm good at it or not. I'll let the future...
Is there somebody from
No, they did not come. Some of them are here. But what I believe, or what is my take on the engineering management, and I kind of miss it in this list, is making sure that everybody is happy and fully equipped to do their job, and not to have to do things that they don't want to do. So I also see engineering manager to be kind of shielding the rest of the team from maybe responsibilities or maybe tasks that would slow them down, that would put them in the incorrect or slower pace, or just make them unhappy.
So you said budgeting. Do you do that?
I never do.
Do you do approve vacations?
I kind of, yeah, I do.
Okay.
I kind of approve.
Right. So you were actually speaking about someone. So what?
Yeah, for me, the definition was a bit complicated. I would put it maybe simpler, that it's person who is managing engineering team, consisted of engineers. I think it's fair, but I can sign 100% that the people thing is a real thing. I think for engineering manager, definitely. And for example, in our case, yeah, the responsibility for the delivery is also valid point there, definitely. And there could be much more, as Honza said, it's, about the company, about the team size. Yeah, it's a lot of factors, and it could be a lot of things. So yeah, but the people, from my perspective, it's important.
But something that you wrote in your blog post, definitely go and check it out, developers.mews.com. You mentioned that that big part of engineering managers' role is customer interviews.
Yeah, it's part of the people. Yeah, people think. And basically, I think it's good because in some companies, it's responsibility mostly of people team or some human resources, which I really don't like.
With customers that you talk to.
Yes, sorry, you meant hiring. Yeah, customer. Yeah, it's mostly about in product companies, I think, and also in custom software development, it's also a thing. And I think it enables the engineering manager to understand their problems. And I think it's a really important thing to understand their problems, yeah, because then you can put the scope to the team and you can give them the good context of that. So I think it's really important thing.
And do you see that even individual contributors should be part of this talk with customers, or it's purely engineering managers?
I think they can if they want. Yeah, I'm not pushing them, but I think it's beneficial for them, definitely. And when I was individual contributor, I preferred this option.
Okay.
So I think it's definitely beneficial for them.
Jakub, did you
I
miss-
agree. I mean, like, I agree with that. And also speaking about shielding the team, I was actually calling that like being umbrella for teams. I'm not sure if in that listing we have spoken about hiring, but you touch on that. I'm not sure if it was in that list.
Nope,
But
I don't
yeah,
think so.
growing the team in a sense, it makes sense for the team itself. It's I would say a super important part of doing engineering management in my eyes, or given my views, because it's also about the chemistry in the team itself, right? You need to make sure that the team can cooperate, work together, have fun together. That you have all kinds of personalities, and it's also like about diversifying the team quite a lot. In sense, more diverse environment can bring better results in. When you are solving, let's say, difficult problems, etc. That was something I was, focusing quite a lot. And hiring is definitely something. I'm glad I'm not doing that from the hiring manager.
I was about to say, like, it's one of the top priority or top most important parts, and at the same time most tedious, at least for me. So I do share this sentiment.
In one of the lectures I actually got, when I started, actually Productboard was my first real engineering management like gig I got. Before that I was just a team lead, but like engineering management in this sense, like like growing people, etc., and like approving vacations, and you have the you basically. I mean, like, you are in different position than just team lead. One of the biggest lessons I got on this topic was that, like, your team can be awesome, you can be great, like technical leader, whatever. But if you grow the team enough to accommodate the work you need to do, then you kind of failed. It doesn't matter, right? It's a top priority, and it should be. You should focus on that as a top priority, and it was quite hard for me to understand that back then. That no matter what you do, even though it might be great, if you fail to grow the team, and because the team might be overworked, like burned out very easily, it might not be taken as a good.
So was the people part your main driver away from it?
It was something I was focusing the most, because I believe it's the most important.
No, sorry, I meant if that was the biggest driver for you to leave the EM role to go back to the...
Not really. That was more difficult, honestly. I left engineering management. I think what I realized I do enjoy is leadership role in general. But I kind of figured it out that at the time at Productboard, I was around very skilled and experienced engineering managers, and I just I was optimizing for impact of everyone around me, and I realized the best what we can do as a company is to consolidate a few teams, and I might be moving to slightly different leadership role, so I can actually enhance my own impact. So I was always optimizing for the impact, and that might lead you to very interesting parts of the organization.
If I can add something on that, from my perspective, this is also one question which should the person who is aspiring for engineering manager ask. Yeah, because when you are individual contributor, you are focusing mostly on yourself. You want to write a good code. If you are engineer, you want to have good results on your own. But once you switch to engineering manager role, you need to switch also the focus and the mind shift to the team. So basically you are optimizing the whole team, not just yourself. And I think this is the key question you should ask before you move to that role. am I ready to lose the control? Am I ready to focus more on others than on myself? So yeah.
But will you ever be ready?
I definitely will not.
I meant before you start doing that, not when you do it for a couple of years.
Oh, this one, I definitely.
Yeah.
I think you are never ready. Yeah, basically.
Did you have somebody around you who kind of, let's say, pushed you to it, or that maybe unlocked the potential in you, Honza?
Yeah, but I may be taking this from a slightly wider perspective. This is my third engineering management role in a third company. One was actually called team lead, but it was a similar job description. But it has always been, in all of these three cases, it was kind of a natural transition. It was never about somebody interviewing me for an EM role. It has always been that we were a group of people working on something, enjoying doing it, and there was always a moment where we had to organize in some kind of structure. And I was always open to this option. Nobody has ever had to force me into this. If they did, I would probably reject. But it has always been like somebody has to do it. I never had issue doing it, hopefully. So it was me. But at the same moment, I could imagine the guy sitting next to me doing the same thing, or the girl sitting next to me doing it instead of me, and I would be completely fine with that. So this was always about the setup in the team and in the company. It was a very natural transition for me, honestly.
But I guess in the growing startups, and I think all of these companies were startups or are startups at some point.
Except for one, actually.
Yeah, okay. Sometimes it happens that the best developer is said, you have to be the manager now because you're the best developer. But isn't it the danger
in that case, it would not be me, but...
Okay, but sometimes it is the case because you have a team of, I don't know, 5 people and you have to decide who will be and you cannot really, you're not mature enough to really do like a proper interview process. And what can happen is that you lose extremely good developer and you get a very...
I've seen that a lot. It happens. Honestly, for me, in my previous company, the motivation for me to step up and become an engineering manager back then was that Branyo, my very good friend and colleague, could actually continue being better developer than me, and he always has been, so that he does not have to handle the inbound of some meetings and some administration. And I was okay doing it, honestly, but he was able to be better developer because I was able to do some other duties that he was not so happy about.
Jakub, do you think that there is also like ego involved in wanting to be a manager or going into there? Because that's kind of a natural progression where you make more money.
I think, like ego is involved everywhere, right? But you need to kind of fight it all the time. And like, actually, I have very similar experience. Like at Productboard, I did the same thing. I was kind of starting off a team. I was about to create front-end platform back then, like kind of one of the parts of engineering, platform engineering organization, like foundational piece. And I had ex-colleague next to me, and we were thinking, so who's going to be the manager? Because someone needs to be the manager, because exactly, you need to take care of the inbound of meetings, and someone needs to report hire, etc. So we were optimizing, again, for impact of the team, of the unit we were building. And I just figured out that, my time, I mean, like the time of the ex-colleague of Martin was much better. Actually, that was something Martin figured out, that it's better for him to be focusing on the code and
no offense, but
and the stuff, like I don't like, it's something you can take care of, and so that's what I did. And exactly, I had the same thought about it. I was actually glad to do it because I immediately felt how not really supportive, but how like I act as an enabler for Martin back then. Like he was able to deliver more things and work on it more concisely because I was taking care of the boring stuff.
And I wanted to ask this question a little later, but I'll ask it now. You said that ego is involved every time. How much it was involved when you were like, okay, I'm not gonna be a manager anymore?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question. Actually, I think Productboard is pretty awesome company regarding that, because I can imagine not every company is great for this step down, like move. It might be quite difficult at some configurations, I can imagine, because you are losing definitely access to various, like rooms and channels. It was in my case as well. On the other hand, I believe I actually moved to place where I was even more impactful from a different perspective.
Was it even actually a step down?
I mean, like it was lateral move. I'm talking about as a lateral.
Because what did you become after engineering manager?
Yeah, like
who did you become?
I think we like Batman. I think we called that even back then like staff engineer, but it was without supportive staff engineering organization, which is a little bit. It's kind of odd, right? If you have staff engineers without the body of staff engineering organization, it's a little bit difficult. That was actually my mission, like I was wondering, like I was at this point, hey, so I feel for my team, it's better if I step down and kind of and we merge it together, and like someone else is gonna be, actually Tony is over there, like of their manager. So I was completely. I knew that it was the best decision. So obviously I was. Should I stay at Productboard or should I do something else? And then I figured out another problem to solve, and the problem was actually to try to create this staff engineering organization. So I moved there to IC, and I tried to be the best example of it at Productboard.
So you were staff engineer before it was cool?
Maybe, not sure.
But I'll maybe take one question there, and I'll ask Vašek, what is specific about engineering manager versus any other management? I'm not sure if you are able to answer this question, because I'm not sure if you've ever been a manager.
I haven't been, definitely in different areas, but if I can add my 2 cents, I think the engineering is a pretty abstract area, and it's not it's not common in a day-to-day life. Like you won't be talking about managing with other people in detail, yeah. And I think it's always advantage when the engineering manager or manager in general understands the domain, yeah. So, and when the domain is pretty abstract, I think it's it's different, yeah, than other domains you can imagine easily, you can touch on, yeah. So I think that's one specific maybe.
Engineering manager has to be a former IC.
I wouldn't say it has to be, but I think it's definitely an advantage.
Have you ever had a manager who wasn't a developer before?
We were slightly discussing that. I'm not sure if it's like actually something I would recommend to someone. I mean, like usually the companies have this career ladder. In a sense, it's dual track. It's EM. I mean, like individual contributor, engineering management ladder, and there is usually senior engineer role where it's splitting in the 2 branches. But actually, I have a kind of funny take on this one about management, because when I got first called like manager, or like now you are kind of doing engineering management, I remember this thought from like when I was kid, I had this very unique, or not really unique, the common conception or concept of what manager does, or like like what's even management about. And obviously, like my first association for management was that's the bossing, right? I mean, like I'm gonna have Mercedes, and I'm gonna be like wearing suits, and like I'm gonna have this briefcase, and like now I'm gonna be like this proper manager. So yeah, like when I was describing, hey, to my parents, hey, I'm engineering manager. I think like their idea was like, oh man, like where's your Mercedes? And like like are you wearing like a suit every day? So yeah, and basically what I was doing is like
Approving vacation.
yeah, I mean, like I was just doing the boring stuff. I was enabling them. The concept of servant leadership, right? That might be even like surprising for older generations, right? I mean, like you are manager indeed, but what you do is like the boring stuff around, and like you are
enabling the others to do the
enabling
interesting stuff.
others to do impact.
You sacrifice yourself when you become a manager.
Yeah, I mean, like you can tell it like that.
all the time.
But I'm sure if you Google now, engineering manager, what my parents think, I'm sure there's this meme, what I do, what I
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
Mercedes and
yeah, the briefcase.
so it was quite
And what's your take on the whole specifications of engineering management versus any other?
But I've never been in another management role other than technical or engineering management one, so I cannot compare too much, honestly. I had an opportunity to step up like to a VP level or this kind of more where I always like to call it like with the engineering management, my take or my approach to that is to do the least possible amount of management and everything
nobody notices.
is the engineering part. That's and when the ratio stops to be correct for me, I start to worry. So I try this to be still engineering as much as possible. The moment, but again, like there could be, and I've met amazing engineering managers who had 99% of the management and 1% of the engineering, and they were awesome people. It would probably not work for me. And this role that was back then offered to me was about squeezing the engineering part radically down to couple percent from, I would say 50%. We can talk about that later, or that varies a lot again. But I was definitely not willing to sacrifice my engineering fun time for more meetings and more Excels and more Outlooks. So
exactly.
so I rejected this role back then.
And so we established that engineering manager, you cannot be without engineering background. I guess we all agree.
I do.
Can you be in a different, let's say you will be a Java developer and you will have a C# team. Is that something okay?
I have not much experience about that, but I think it's possible.
You have cross-functional team. So you're a backend developer in .NET C#.
Sure.
But you have also people who work in React TypeScript. So how do you work with that? How do you evaluate
True
them?
story. I think it's definitely possible. But if it's out of your expertise, you usually ask somebody else if you want some, let's say, different opinion on that. But yeah, I think the engineering as it is, it's more like similar, and it doesn't stick to the tools you use or the languages you use. So I think the general technical background is enough. So yeah, basically the technology itself, it's not the obstacle in this role.
So when there is performance review and you have to evaluate the front-end developer, do you look at the code or you ask your senior front-end engineer to have a look at it?
Yeah, sure. I have any front-end guy with me to evaluate the technical stuff, but of course I see the other stuff. Yeah, how is he or she communicate with others? How is he or she cooperating, and other let's say soft skills. And also I see the speed of the delivery, for example, and stuff like that. So I can judge a lot, but about the technical stuff, I need definitely somebody who is in the domain.
Does it work for you? Are you comfortable with this setup?
Yeah, I think it's totally fine, because basically you are not the superhero as an engineering manager, and I ask generally for help a lot. Yeah, and I'm fine with it, and I think everybody should be fine with asking for help.
We go to superheroes, so how is it in your case?
I heard that C# is quite okay, so that would probably work. But I try to, given that I try to be as much of the engineering in the engineering management proportion. If I had somebody on my team who would be too far from my expertise, I definitely don't have expertise with everything that my team does, but I try to gain enough expertise so that I can have decent discussion on any technical issue or any technical task or anything that we solve. If I did not have that, if I did not have enough knowledge to be able to discuss pretty deep problems, I would feel lacking in my role. Yeah. But again, could be very different as we heard from engineering manager to engineering manager.
Yeah, I mean, like I think we would be able to summarize it as you need to have some respect, right, in that team. I mean, like you might be outdated to some degree, right? I mean, you might not know that React is the thing, or I don't know, like that the Webpack is kind of but might be not, right? But it doesn't matter, like if kind of the team knows that you are capable to learn new stuff, and that like it's about some natural like kind of respect within the team, and obviously you need to bring something to the table, like experiences from like how to navigate your career, etc. Like career progression is like a very important part of being engineering manager. Actually, about the code reviews or like things like that. Like I just got reminded this tweet from Elon Musk, like where he asked like employees to print out their code. It would be like, hey, can you please print like the code for the last 40 days, and like. Okay. Okay. So okay. No. In my case, I was in a position. Yeah. Like actually, that might be interesting. I was in a position where, at some point, I was kind of sitting on two chairs. I was also, I would say, the most technically capable person in those teams as well, and that was quite. I didn't like it, honestly. That was a main motivation for me to pick one. But
don't you try to still be like on top of all the things when you're the manager?
Yeah, I mean, like yes, you are trying to be on top of all of it, but you are kind of working on the different abstraction level, and if you are, let's say, diving into those opportunities, you might be actually stealing them from your employees. So you are kind of you are trying to enable others and show them the opportunities so they can, work on their career and do some progression. But if you are in a situation where the team is not senior enough, that you might be actually the most senior technical, capable person, you either, did wrong at hiring, or you should be thinking about if you are actually at the right spot, if the company is profiting from you correctly.
Was it effective at the time where you were at those two roles?
I think I was struggling quite a lot, and basically the main reason for me to switch was also realization that I might be actually stealing some opportunities from others. And if you are in an engineering management role, you are having quite funny informational there's this disbalance in how many informations you have accessible versus the employee. So it's quite hard to be managing someone and like doing his performance reviews, etc., and giving him feedback on PRs. Right? That feels quite unnatural to me. It's kind of should I do it or not? Obviously you are going through PRs, but it's much better when they are on the same level, right? They are ICs, sharing their ideas and picking the direction, rather than when you are picking the direction because you have the power, right?
But this you can have only in bigger teams, because probably in a smaller team, manager will still have to do the PRs.
Yes, I mean, like usual, you have.
It could be split among the members of the team. It doesn't necessarily need to be the engineering.
But if there is a manager and then there is another person that reports to him, there are only two developers, then that will happen inevitably.
It's fine to have the cross-check for me.
So there is the one question that probably is right now. How much time do you dedicate to coding these days? And let's start with you, Václav.
About 5%, to be honest.
And is it something that you look forward to, or is it something that you I have to do it? Or...
Good question. I think, I'm definitely good for the easier task. The most challenging, I let it to other guys because they are much better than me in coding. But I'm happy to do them. It's fine for me.
Honza, how much percent?
I wish it's a lot. In the end, it never is. So I overpromise all the time. And after a week of postponing, I have to ask somebody to take care of. But I tried this to be at least 50% for me.
50%?
Yeah.
Wow.
That's my overpromising. It ends up.
Is there anyone from the team of Honza can tell us?
But it does not have to be coding. Like speaking about coding, like even if you ask an IC how much time do you spend coding, do you expect 100% as an answer, or do you expect 30%, which would be much closer to the reality? So for me, it depends. If you're asking me this, if IC is 100%, I would love to be somewhere 40, 50%. I know 100%? I'm not. Yeah, that's why I'm asking. Like, what's the scale?
Okay.
I'm asking, what's the scale?
Or what's the definition, right?
Yeah, what's the definition? What
of IC? Should we go there?
Is it about sending PRs, writing,
actually writing the code, if you manage to do that for more than 2 hours a day, I will print you a certificate.
Your code. You'll print your code.
Professional coder, right? Coding.
But I do try to be quite deep into the implementation, let's call it this way.
So you're part of sprints and things get assigned to you. It's not like you find things that you would
They get assigned to me and they get postponed, typically. Yes, but I do try to, when we are planning the sprint, I try to...
Maybe can we ask you in back? Sorry. Yeah, thanks.
When planning the sprint, I try to consider myself to be a half of a member when planning. And I always fail, but I still try, and I still enjoy it so much.
And you still have your job, even you fail so much.
Well, let's see after today.
Nobody knew you were failing until today.
So, in the back.
Jan, so if I understand correctly, you are also, like in Jira or some other systems you might be using, you are having some deliverables within the sprint as EM.
Yeah.
Okay.
I try to.
It's kind of interesting. And does it work for you?
Let's see. Not always. I'm too optimistic in planning for myself. I know that. I try to improve on that. But yes, I still try to assign, and I do sometimes succeed. I do sometimes succeed.
But do you feel like this is something that you will one day have to say, okay, I need to leave this, or that's a no-go?
That would be a sad moment for me, honestly. At least from my very current perspective, I could see things differently in a year or 2 or 10. Let's see what happens then. But if I had to stop delivering in the next sprint, this would be quite a sad story for me.
And you are also super close to customers, right? So not everyone wants to be like super abstract, right? In like managing multiple.
Do you think this
teams.
is maybe Honza? I'll grill you a little more. Do you think that this is maybe this you will probably never lead like a really big team because there you would just have no time to squeeze in the
most likely. Yeah, I think that the 5 people that we currently are is just about a sweet spot. I would like not to have larger team. At the same time, the very important point to my, you could say, one person on my team actually called it a cowboy management style, and it was a negative connotation of our team, and he left later. But
were you like dueling, or
I don't know. He was just lacking enough structure or enough of the management. There was just not enough management for him. He was way more structured, which is completely fine. I would give him the best references again. Like, he was a great developer. It just was not in sync or compatible with the way our team worked. And it was hopefully not just about myself. We were offering him another team in the same company, but it was about how the team worked. And every single team that I had the pleasure to work with, we were mostly senior, but not senior in the way, in the meaning that we have worked there for 10 years plus, but senior in the setup. So everybody on the team, I never had people on the team where I would have to create Jira tasks, where it would say 1, create this controller, 2nd, create a database model for that. If I had team members like that, and I believe that they can bring great value in different teams, but for people in my team, the tickets are very empty. And it has always been in every single company. I love to work, or I am compatible with people that are very self-sufficient and they can work on their own. And there really is not a big difference between what I do and what they do. And we work as a team in this sense. So and I completely understand that this has been very much defining the way I do engineering management.
Jakub, how much coding did you do at the peak?
Yeah, like that was kind of funny thing because it depends like how do we like define the coding, but like I think even when I switched to IC role, it wasn't really like 50% of my time. It was probably less. But yeah, like like within this coding, we can like put writing RFCs there as well, right?
Sure.
Like thinking about architecture. So obviously, I basically what I ditched. I mean, like. What might be interesting for you is that, like taking a look what I ditched, like by moving to staff engineering role, and what I basically left behind is especially like the, performance review or like this, performance management, right? And being responsible for proper team staffing. Right, I'm still in a position where I was giving hints what I believe we should do, but it wasn't my like responsibility to make sure that it
Perfect,
happens.
no?
So yeah, like it was quite good. Being hiring manager is hard. Obviously, I was participating in the hiring and everything, but for example, a lot of my one-on-ones kind of shifted. Because I still kept having one-on-one, right? Because we were talking about technical stuff, maybe even maybe we were talking even about career progression within technical tracks. But as an engineering manager, you might be actually dealing with much more personal, like stuff. Like people are going through very different and often very difficult situations in their life, and that's affecting their performance. That's affecting the rest teammates within the team, and you are there for them to make sure that they feel supported, heard, and that you are doing all you can, so it whole like functions. So yeah, like that's something what I left behind, and actually around the time I left engineering management, I also like got family, I got son, so I was kind of taking care of another human being, like my
That's
little.
your management there.
So I kind of decided or realized, hey, I might like to step out from this role to be focused from this, like sense of. Like taking care of human beings just on my family. And obviously I do care about my colleagues, right? But it's a little bit different. Your
buddies there is
exactly,
more hierarchical.
Exactly. It's the information like asymmetry and like the power disbalance it's not there anymore. I mean, like obviously there's some hierarchy as well in IC roles, but it's a little bit different. We are like their vacation and like this whole planning and the organization, it's someone else's job.
I think we answered the should you become an EM if you still enjoy coding. Definitely if you work in Deepnote on Honza's position. But maybe with...
And it was great, honestly, like it was great experience because a lot of what you learn in EM can be applicable in IC ladder and vice versa. I think I got better in various stuff, in facilitating meetings, like making things and leadership, like.
You haven't learned new words while being EM, but...
I don't want to be mumbling and I don't want to take all the time, right? Speaking about that, but...
But I want to ask one maybe controversial question. Is it okay if an individual contributor makes more money than the manager?
For me, it's completely okay, and it happens in our company, so completely fine.
Definitely fine.
And it was my case from the beginning. Actually, when I started team, I was in this situation and makes sense.
Okay. Because I think this is important that this is heard, because I think that maybe here we all know that this is okay, but I can imagine that in some companies it's still briefcase, Mercedes, and screaming at people.
Let me know the name.
Yeah, I think you become a corporate once your CEO has a plate on the parking spot the closest to the place. Before that, you're good, I think. Let's get to heavy stuff because we haven't gotten there yet. What traits should a good manager have? Because you touched it a little bit in terms of you need to be like you need to be able to deal with emotions. It's really not just the technical stuff, but what if you can say maybe 3 things that you feel like that you are maybe lacking or that you are lacking now that you would like to have, or maybe that you feel like you're having already now?
I think it should be definitely empathic. I'm not sure if I'm lacking it or not. But yeah, I think the manager should treat people as humans because, for example, I really experienced a situation.
Write it
Seems
down.
to be a
write
good
it down,
company.
okay?
But I really experienced situations when managers treated people like human resources, and I really don't like that word. Yeah, so I think that's one of the key things, to treat people as humans. Yeah, and for the third one, I think the manager should be also the leader worth following. Yeah, so
Be able to roll out the sleeves when.
yeah, definitely. But there are situations when you want to let the responsibility or the action to the team. But when there is situation like it's not sure what to do, he should step up and he should lead the actions.
Regarding the human resources, I was actually in one company back some years ago, and our team was called Resource Pool. So you could take resources from the pool.
That hurts.
We still got money for that, so it was okay. But I'm not sure. I still build. Again, it is very different from the different ways of doing engineering manager. In my opinion, I do agree a lot with the empathy and all of these noble human moral beings.
Sounds like you take it really seriously.
I do. But what I like a lot, it's not only engineering management, but I think in running a company in general, I think that honesty is a big thing. I think that it can win a lot. It can win a lot in the team. It can win a lot in the company. And just being fair with the people is the way to go for me.
Do you try to get to know the people really, like in their lives, like what's the name of their husband or wife?
I do. It has always been the case in the teams that I worked with. Not sure if that was like a side product or if that was coincidental, but yeah, we have always been good friends, and we would do barbecue that we paid for from our money, not the company money. So,
Wow.
so that meant a lot.
To the company budget. That meant a lot. Jakub.
Yeah, it's hard to add something, but definitely, you are kind of responsible for making sure that relationships are being built within the team. So you need to be good with people. And like, what does it mean, right? What's the definition? I think, like it's kind of like being trustworthy, like being kind of open-minded, friendly, like non-conflict, etc. It's definitely part of it. But yeah, like you should be good with people. Otherwise, you might be actually unhappy in that role, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
How is it with letting responsibilities go? Because you've been building the career, you're at the position because you got all these responsibilities, and all of a sudden you need to drop them because you need to approve vacations. So how did you deal with that? How did you deal with the trust with your people?
Sorry, what do you mean?
So that you had to say that you would think that you could do it better or differently, but you need to let the team do it, and maybe
I see. Yeah,
fail.
Yeah, makes sense. Yeah, that's actually wonderful because I think you are a great manager if you can sense out where people can fail and what's unacceptable regarding the failing, because you need to provide opportunities for folks to fail, because like via that failing they can learn something new. So you need to be very good in making sure that they fail in something what's recoverable, right? What can be fixed. And sometimes it's I think you need to get used to it to see a little bit of chaos every day and take it as a learning opportunity.
Are you still talking about the team or about your stuff?
I mean, like, it's not that different, right? Like, that's the reason why I focus.
We don't know the reason why he stepped down from the engineering manager. Maybe he felt so bad in the engineering management that he had to be demoted.
So
yeah, nice. Actually, I like that. And Honza, what do you think?
I'm not sure how to answer this one.
Because you still keep the coding, let's say, for example, a lot.
I'm trying to think about it, but maybe I failed too hard that I don't even realize. But I never.
You have your own manager. He would probably find out, right?
He knows all of my mistakes, so that's fine. But I've never, hopefully, had an issue with this one.
But I meant, so sorry, maybe I'm coming back to the question. How did it feel for you that you had to let go some of the responsibility?
Given that we have always been on the very similar level, both seniority, both experience, hopefully, and even knowledge, it has never been an issue of letting some decisions go or letting some. I sometimes wish I could implement some cooler features that the people on the team could. But I'm okay with that because I know that they would do better. Everybody around me can do better job than me, so that's completely fine.
And probably coding is also one of the first things you deprioritize if you need to deprioritize something.
Oh yeah,
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Maybe
Like enjoyable coding.
Yeah. The best one. Best part.
Maybe I would rephrase it a bit because for example, I feel still responsible for the whole team. Yes, so I wouldn't let the responsibility go, but maybe let the control go. Yeah, so basically I'm fine to let the control go to my teammates because I feel often that they can suggest better decisions and better solutions than me. So I think letting the control go is completely fine, but I think the responsibility is mainly still on the engineering manager. Yeah, of course, it's the whole team responsibility, but if you see some big failures, you should step in and you should solve it, in my view.
By the way, one thing I wanted to mention before is that you need to be able, as an engineering manager, to like call shots or like do tough decisions. I mean, probably the only reason why in humanity, like in society, we have leaders. I mean, like the reason why we have such a concept of leaders is that someone needs to do, like unpopular but good decisions. Like everyone can do, like. Popular decisions and stuff which might be pretty, but it's not functional in long term. But the only reason why we are making sure that there is some leader, close to us, is that someone is going to be, going to bet, like with that decision they are able to make, and the decision might not be pretty, and it might take some time to kind of so others understand, but the decision needs to be done. So being able to do tough decisions and stay by it and not wait too long for it, to let it rot, it's definitely something I look forward in every leader I work with. It's super important.
So I'm not. It's not that I don't want to ask the first question. I just didn't find the place where to ask it. So we'll ask it probably at the end. But I want to ask the.
That's what I'm also talking about a bit.
A little bit, yeah.
It's not on. Yeah.
When applying for an EM role, technical experience versus management experience, what is more important, especially when talking team lead versus tech lead? Maybe this is something also we should define. What is the difference between tech lead, team lead, and engineering manager?
I hope you have a nice definition again.
I don't have that. I only found
difficult, like conversation.
For me, engineering manager is more like a general term. You could be director, you could be team lead, and team lead for me is a particular case of engineering manager. So, for example, you could be team lead and engineering manager at once, in my view.
Okay.
Yeah, you can lead the team, but you are still engineering manager. But then you can managing the team of managers, and you are still, in my view, the engineering manager. So, I would put it
tech lead. What is tech lead?
Depends, I think, on the definition in the company. But tech lead is for me
in Mews.
Yeah, in Mews, I feel it's somebody who is technically very, very skillful, and I think those guys are not. They don't have so much people duties, in my view. So they are mostly the technical excellence ambassadors or something.
Somebody who knows
they're
well.
accountable for that, I believe, right? I mean, like it's about the accountability.
And I guess from them, the staff engineers recruit probably.
I mean, like in my definition, like tech lead is IC role, and it's actually purely focused on the technical excellence, and like they are accountable for the fact that the direction is set in a correct, like way, but they don't care about the performance management, like stuff.
And vacation improvements.
Yeah, but yeah, right.
But maybe they are the ones that are asked to evaluate somebody for the engineering manager who doesn't understand the domain.
And like
C#.
And a lot of companies has this like 360 right
Reviews,
type of reviews. So yeah.
We do have a tech lead role as well, and I honestly, in case there is too much management, I will consider that one day maybe. Like it's a very appealing one. So in case somebody feels that there is too much vacation approvals, or if there is too much of the management, I think that the tech role is a sweet spot. It's a sweet spot for people like you, I guess, maybe, where you can still have the impact, more like the impact that you can bring based on your experience, seniority, and the years that you have spent sitting in front of the IDE. But you don't have to do the things that you are afraid of sometimes or scared of. Some people are scared of people management.
Actually, in Larson's book about engineering, staff engineering, tech lead is one type of staff engineer. Yeah, okay. So it really depends on the company and on the maturity of the company.
Let's go maybe to the topic that is most familiar to you, Jakub, because you're the only one in the who moved back. Is there a right time, right place for it, or it's just?
That's a good question. I was actually thinking about it in a way that if I not do it now, I might never do it. Mm-hmm. So I think at some point, or at some point in time, you might be past that event, and you're gonna stick with EM because basically you're gonna be more valuable as that, acting as an engineering manager. But I was in a situation where I was hiring for staff engineer for my team for quite a long time. I think it was...
And nobody was good enough, right?
Exactly. Yeah, nobody was... that I eventually ended up doing a lot of things I meant for that staff engineer. And that then I realized, hey, actually, we might be lacking people like that, like driving that technically, but we do have even greater EMs around me. So why I'm not, letting them to manage the team, and I can make even better impact focusing on technical stuff. So it was very calculated decision, honestly. And I think everyone benefited from it back then. So it wasn't really, it wasn't kind of promotion, anything like that. It was lateral move. So I had the,
Was it announced on Slack? Or on a slide on the...
It was, it took some time, it took some time. When I got kind of further with that building of staff engineer organization, it kind of formalized.
So how difficult was it for your team, for you to stay in the company? And the new engineering manager starting managing them?
I think they had a great relationship even before, and I did everything I could to explain them that it's better for them.
It was an internal hire?
No, it was actually someone who was with the company at the same time for the same venture.
I'm thinking that maybe they noticed that he's not an engineering manager when their vacations weren't approved for like a month.
I mean, actually, my team, I got feedback that they realized that I might be enjoying the IC part more than I, should at some point, and I took that feedback in this way, and I explained them that it's actually going to be better for their career. I finished what I had to, some career progression we were working on with the teammates, and then we combined that with reorg. It wasn't like someone else was stepping in the team, but we were kind of shuffling and doing better organization. And I think we kind of nailed it. And you can definitely hear if you are around and you're gonna wanna know more about it. There's Tony, and he can definitely give you some insights how it was from his side or his
so
point of
maybe
view.
he should have been here on your seat.
I mean, you can invite him next time, right?
Yeah. No, and maybe I want to ask, I definitely want to ask if there is always way back, or if there can be a cliff where you simply would have to learn everything and you would be actually a bad IC.
I mean, as I said, there might be such a cliff. You might get too detached. You might not even be willing to go back, in terms of you might not enjoy doing, like you are getting feedback via different feedback loops, right? As an EM, it's much slower. It works a little bit differently than IC. As an IC, you are usually getting like response and feedback on what you are doing much more faster. So at some point you might just be like, hey, I want to be, working with people and not really
normal person
doing IC anymore, and it's fine. But as I said, I believe this pendulum. There's some article about like pendulum IC-EM, like thingy, this lateral move, like from EM to IC, from IC back to EM, because I think, like almost 100%, I'm going to end it up as an engineering manager one day again. Like I'm not going to be IC for my life. But what I really believe is it was super beneficial for me. I learned so much because now I understand much more. I have much bigger empathy for engineering management because I was doing that. So it was super. I think I got kind of superpowers. So it's definitely an advantage compared to my IC, colleagues without this prior experience.
Now,
I would love to believe that there is a way back. I hope
you're counting on it.
I still consider this, although I've been doing EM I counted and it's close to 6-7 years. I still consider this temporary.
Okay.
Let's see about it.
It's like a hot fix, right?
I'm just, trying to help.
Yeah. And
maybe to kind of touch on that, I think it's always possible to do it, but I'm not sure if the terms gonna be that favorable. Because actually you can always do it, right? You can start as a junior data engineer, but like your
maybe
your
the mortgage
family
is just too high.
Your family might be like against it, right? At some point you are like going to your wife and asking her, like,
can I be a junior developer?
Can I do it, right? I mean, like, doesn't make sense for us. So yeah, you need to take it into calculation as well.
So tell me, and be please specific how it is in your companies. What are the possibilities for ICs to grow if they don't want to be EMs, but they want to make good money and they want to have big impact?
Yeah, basically we have the staff engineer roles as well. So ICs are able to grow to that position to be basically the technical leaders.
Are there like levels of...
Sure. We have mid developers. We are not focusing so much on junior levels, but yeah, we also have some trainees, I think, and we are focusing on that a bit. But yeah, we have the mid, then we have the senior levels, and then up above that are the staff engineers, basically.
I think even in Mews, it very often happened that the mid engineer is somebody who has no previous experience because he's simply good from like university, for example. That comes from.
And you have it on a GitHub, right?
Yes.
Very open format.
Yeah,
which
it's
is
open.
Quite good.
Yeah, so we're not an open source company, but we try to open source like things that we can. So one of them is career framework.
I think it's pretty awesome. Definitely go check it out.
I believe you have a similar career ladder there, so all the way to staff engineer.
Productboard?
Like we had in past. I mean, like we kind of formalized this whole career progression and the levels quite early on. I think in a very right moment. I mean, like there are a lot of moments where you can introduce levels to the company, and it's usually quite painful. I think we kind of nailed that. But it was like I don't know, like senior engineer or engineer 1, senior engineer 2, and then EMs to directors. But it took us some time to really figure out how to work with staffs. Definitely, when I was switching to EM, we were pretty far away from IC leadership role, and I felt that the only progression for me back then was going to management. So that's something what we reverted and fixed.
So
because
you were the guinea pig.
Yeah, I mean, like it was obviously I wasn't thinking like that, but thinking like that at the very moment. But looking back, I kind of feel that I was optimizing for the impact, and I just saw, hey, if I wanna be in those rooms, if I wanna, like tell them what we should do, I need to go to EM role. So it took us some time to kind of revert this decision, and basically, exactly as you said, you can get very poor EMs from very great ICs. So it's not always the great, like trait you should do in your organization. So yeah, a lot of learning there. And now we have, like Productboard has quite early staff organization, and it goes to principal level, which is equal to senior director.
Okay.
So usually it's like this. And what's also super interesting is if you're IC, your influence is kind of comparable, or you are kind of borrowing the influence of your manager. So if you are IC and you are reporting to director, you are kind of on a staff level, even though you might not be telling or naming that as a staff level. But you are kind of borrowing the influence. So you should make sure that you are super aligned and you have great relationship with that manager. And if you kind of nail this, it's gonna be awesome, right? You're gonna be super successful in what you do because that's a great team.
So you
right
said
there.
that principal engineer,
Senior director.
I wonder if any company will ever have a level of a IC that is matching CTO.
It's like there is actually, not sure, but there is distinguished engineer, which is in a lot of companies even higher. On kind of same level. They might be. There's this concept. I'm not super into this, but Zuse over there is kind of researching that you might have office of CTO, where ICs are kind of working super close to CTO, and those folks might be distinguished engineers. For example, someone who created something extremely awesome or moved the industry several years forward. Someone like that with 5 years tenure. Creating JavaScript, for example. That's a great thing, right? Awesome, right?
Okay, so my watch is telling me abnormal heart rate, or last half an hour, so I'm not sure what it means.
Oh, really?
But let's go to maybe short. These are questions that I want you to have short answers to. So let's start. What do you really hate about the job you do right now? What is the one thing that you really hate? And don't say approving vacations.
Disapproving of vacations, right? That's the worst. No Tenerife for you. Crunching right now. Yeah.
I would say the hard paper things. For example, when we are onboarding somebody, we need to closely cooperate with people, and there are some, papering. So this is probably, but I wouldn't say hate. Yeah, maybe
okay. Dislike.
Yeah. Dislike, yeah.
I don't do it yet, but it may come that I have to do the performance reviews and reviews.
I like that you hate something that is coming.
Yeah, I already know that I'm going to hate it.
Yeah, writing performance. I'm not EM anymore.
Yeah, so I want
but I would say...
Yeah.
I've done it in the past and I hated it quite a lot.
So in the past, in the future, but not in present yet.
Not in present yet. I'm ready for it again, but I know I will.
You're ready to hate it. You're ready to hate it.
As much as I can.
Yes, I would answer. I don't like the frustration from things being slow. That's basically it. At some point it's being slow. You need to wait to see the result, and that's something what you might not enjoy.
There's one question that is here and there as well, so I'm going to use that. Any resources that you would like to recommend? Maybe try to say one book, one podcast, one YouTube channel, one TikToker. I wish you say TikToker. From you, Jakub.
I see. Management, engineering manager path book, and there's also staff engineer path. I think so those two. Just to be very concise.
I have none to recommend. Sorry.
In my beginnings, it was the book for the beginning managers. It was making of the manager. Yeah, so this was this one, and also we have at Mews the team lead growth program, which helped me a lot. So it's internal thing, but I felt really supported by that.
How is Plato working for you?
Yeah, Plato is also fine. Yeah,
did not work well for me.
Didn't work well for you. Do you know if Plato? It's a mentoring platform where it's mainly engineering managers, I would say, from technical companies, and you can just book anyone for long term or one-off. So it didn't work for you. Worked for you.
Yes.
And
kind of worked for me as well.
Yeah.
I did that, and I actually managed to implement few things. Via the mentorship I got in Plato, but basically any mentorship is good. It doesn't it's not about Plato. It's about having mentors, someone who's more experienced than you.
So you've worked with that.
Yeah, and I managed to find someone who was, like pretty good at Plato, and she helped me to introduce RFC library to Productboard, and that was great success for us, and it helped me to progress my career. So it would be much more painful, I guess, without her.
How about you? Do you use mentorship?
I use Plato. It did not very great for me, but it could be me. I totally get it because I was not patient enough. And after several failed attempts to find somebody that would have the similar way of leadership or management, I have just given up.
I think maybe it's also good to kind of realize that you're good,
I just thank you very much for putting it differently. I could not find anybody good enough, and I was not willing to teach them in the time.
So
in your free time, right?
Have you swapped tables and you actually started mentoring someone there?
Yeah, but I heard that there is no compensation for that, so I was like, what's the point?
Okay.
I like the priorities. Right on the table.
You got a big family, so you
father of three,
I cannot.
Fair point.
And have you mentored someone, or are you mentoring someone?
It's part of a job, right? But externally, not right now.
Not for free,
I have friends, and I'm trying.
Really? Congratulations.
I do, and I'm trying to actually, friendship. That's a great topic. So maybe later, but I try. It doesn't have this nice package like, hey, I'm gonna be mentoring you right now for free. But yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, right?
But
help people to progress.
Yeah, but I don't think that it's really for free, because I think by mentoring someone
you are
get,
getting
so much,
as well.
and that's why. And I'll add my 2 cents into this, even though I'm not part of this.
Please do. Enjoy it.
No, but I really, in my role, I'm happy that I can kind of nudge even juniors to be able to mentor, because I feel like sometimes juniors and everybody in the team deals with imposter syndrome, that, who would listen to me? Like, I don't know anything. And then when you kind of open them and then they start speaking to people, it's such a, there is a huge gratitude, when there is somebody listening to every word you say, because you have a little bit more experience than them. Because it doesn't make sense if a CTO would go to mentor juniors. It has to be slightly better junior, and CTO can do other CTOs. But yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
By the way, you were asking for what we do hate about like engineering management,
mentoring.
But I think you haven't asked what we like, and I think something what I really loved about it is seeing actually someone you mentor to progress in their career and life. It's not just about career; it's very collocated together, right? Like it's your personal. It's affecting your everything around you. So it was always so great for me to see it.
Yeah.
It was really motivation for me to keep going.
Yeah.
The part that I love the most about this role is when I can praise the people on my team in front of the rest of the company.
Some public kudos channel.
Could be weekly meeting.
Yep.
It could be kudos. It could be me talking to my manager and praising the people on my team. That's the most fulfilling part of the job.
Do you mentor someone?
I can sign this 100% about the praising. And about the mentoring, I wouldn't call it that way, but definitely we are discussing things, and as Jakub said, it's part of the job. Yeah, and also I wish I would make people growing. So yeah.
Right. Let's have a look at those questions, because that one is number 1. I don't know how many likes it has, but I feel like there's. How do you deal with underperforming team members?
You fire them, right? Is there another option?
Okay, but you said you fail to deliver very often, but you cannot fire yourself, right?
I would love to. Like if there's, I would be the first on the list, definitely. No, I've never had an experience or I did twice. Once it was the story that I have already touched a bit. It was not about underperforming in the means that the person would be poor in the knowledge or skill, but it was about the incompatibility of the work style, and we just decided to part our ways. Back then, we had another story where we hired somebody who was really poor, like really underperforming, and we ended up firing. That's many years ago. Fortunately, nothing that we would currently be solving. It's a pain, honestly.
It's a testament to your hiring, then, if you're not dealing with it.
I wish.
I haven't had any underperformers yet, but I can imagine I would search for the problem, for the cause. Basically asking, is it family issue or is it team issue or something like that, but yeah.
Yeah. There is also often like performance improvement plan, involved, and you are kind of trying to fix the situation. But it's kind of tough. But someone needs to do it. It's for better good, right? It's affecting everyone, not just that person. The team, everyone is suffering. At the end, everyone is kind of unhappy.
So we answered the first two, so those can be marked as done. And to Jan Eck, for you.
Whoever that is.
And it's from Anonymous. So focusing on engineering, air quotes, as much as possible, as you say, doesn't it actually decrease your value for the team? Wouldn't e.g. mentoring others better?
Could be. In majority of the team, it could be. I'm blessed to be working with the team and even in the past, I was blessed to work with the teams that hopefully did not require that much of a mentoring. I mean, more than I would be willing to give. I hope I always gave enough of it, enough of mentoring, approvals of the vacations and things like that. So I was always blessed to be in the teams that still allowed me to do tech work or engineering, you call it. So that was the team setup. There's always been the team setup. And I keep asking, like every single one-on-ones, I keep asking the people in my team, are you missing any of my role duties? Am I lacking some of my duties because of my love for the tech? And I'm ready to change. I'm ready to change the balance so that everybody's happy.
But you also need to have great relationship with them, because sometimes it's quite hard to tell your manager that they suck in their work. I mean, like I had
they tell me all the time.
Yeah, I mean, like that's good. That's good. Like you need to hear it, right? So that's,
sure.
I mean, like not that you don't have it for others, right? That it's about trust.
Next one we maybe touched a little. Oh no, something. Was there this one from Marianne? Was there any guide or person helping you in the new EM role from the very beginning? Did you have a buddy? Did you have an engineering?
Yeah, like can I touch on this one? I mean, like no one. We haven't actually spoken about how lonely you might be. Like entering the EM role from IC, the loneliness and like the fact that you might be actually alone. That your team is kind of someone else than the team like before, right? I mean, as ICs, you might be bashing your engineering manager over the beer, right? I mean, like he suck or whatever, like, and it's part of a deal, right? But if you are EM, you kind of lose your friends or like buddies because there's different power. So yeah, like usually it's some other EM, because that's your buddy.
CTO.
That I mean, like that's how life works, right? I mean, like at some point you need to really like
how lonely the CTO is.
Sorry.
How lonely the CTO must be.
I mean, like yeah. I mean, like it's a price. It's you are always like paying price for stuff, and obviously I'm joking, but not not entirely. Like it's definitely lonely at the top, right?
The first one we covered because what convinced you usually it was simply the natural kind of progression of the team. But the very last one we'll do the what softwares are you using the most, and just say.
I guess Miro and Teams.
I do Slack a lot. It's a lot of Slack.
Like VS Code, Slack, Miro as well.
Okay.
Figma.
So we won't get to all the questions. I'm sure the speakers will stay a little bit, even though you have 3 kids at home. So I hope you can
they're
stay.
asleep by now.
Okay,
so
perfect.
but I free night.
I want to close up with
five kids
good
altogether,
family
right?
manager.
Yeah. More, I think, but
more.
yeah.
6.
So
one more.
last thing is if you could tell the world, because there's so many people watching us right now, I'm sure, and there's so many people here, and I wrote it down. Yeah, any career advice for you to switch to EM for you to switch to EM and for you to switch to IC. Okay?
Yeah. For me, if you are thinking about it, just try it, and you will see. Yeah, basically, you can get back anytime. I believe if you realize soon that you are not good EM. So just to try it if you are thinking about it.
For me, it's do what you enjoy. Like in case you want to be EM just because your mom will be more proud of you, probably should not. You will not get a free Mercedes in most of the startups anyways.
Yeah, follow your heart. Yeah, that's it, right? Maybe create Twitter account and follow some news, but
Follow you.
But who knew like what's gonna happen with Twitter right now? So maybe do it now so you can see the downfall of it.
But yeah, I think we can conclude it with follow your heart. Thanks for saying it till the end. So thank you, Václav, Honza, Jakub, for joining me. Thank you all for joining us. And thank you everybody for watching. And I think next meetup should be Approving Vacations 101.
Thank you.
Wow.